Is Boca Raton affordable? If this is a question you've been asking yourself, stay tuned for the answers. Hi, I'm Kev. Welcome to our channel, Living in Fort Lauderdale with Kev and Suze. If you visited us before, welcome back. This is your first time, welcome. We hope you'll consider subscribing, because after all, it is the right thing to do. Located in the shores of Southeast Florida is the beautiful, lush city of Boca Raton. It's one of the wealthiest cities in South Florida. Boca is known for luxury and leisure amongst its residents. Mansions, yachts, private jets are all common sightings here, so you're probably wondering if Boca Raton is affordable to you. Researching the cost of living in Boca is definitely a good idea before committing to move there. Determining the cost of living isn't just about looking at real estate prices or looking at rental prices or home prices. It's important to get a full picture of your new life by factoring in everyday goods and services, tax rates, and average salaries too. Now that might feel a little overwhelming, but hey, we did most of the digging for you. So we'll cover what you need to know before you decide to make the move so you can decide whether or not you can afford to live in Boca. Boca's cost of living index. So how much do you need to earn to live in Boca? Well, of course, the number one criteria depends upon your lifestyle, where you want to live in Boca, the number of members in your household, and whether you want to live, whether you want to own or rent. The first thing you should consider is a cost of living index in Boca. This can kind of help you see how expensive it is in Boca. Keep in mind that Boca, the cost of living index is 17.9% higher than a national average. So it is not inexpensive to live there. That might sound a little daunting at first, but depending upon your field of work, whether you want to rent or buy, the size of your family, it may not be a problem for you. The highest cost of living in Boca comes down to the housing. So the Boca Raton Cost of Living Index shows that housing is about 56% more than the average cost in the United States. Now that's factoring in all kinds of houses. That's factoring in everything from condos to townhomes to single family homes to those big mansions that you've seen, to all the waterfront property. So it's factoring in a lot of different things that may or may not be what you're looking for or may or may not be relevant to you. Though some things in Boca are more expensive than a national average, you won't basically break the bank across the board. Groceries and utilities are only about 2% more expensive than a national average. Transportation is actually less than 1% higher. And there are bright spots that are more affordable too. For example, healthcare. Healthcare in Boca Raton is actually 4.4% less expensive than a national average. That can mean big savings, especially for those that have healthcare as a primary expense or a primary consideration. Boca Raton's consumer price index went up by about 1% over the past 12 months. Now that for the most part is a little bit lower than a national average, but it's still something to take into consideration. Consumers' expenditures in Boca show that about 36% of residents' income is spent on housing, 18% is spent on transportation, 12% on food, and 10 to 12% is spent on insurance, healthcare, entertainment, education, and stuff like that. The cost of groceries, food, and gas, and household items in Boca. The living in Boca isn't cheap. As I said, it's not really over the top either. But why is it so expensive? Well, if you ask the residents that live there, it's because you're living in paradise. But if you're unsure whether you can afford it, it can be helpful to look at typical things you're going to spend your money on. You'll need to know the things like the average cost of groceries or gas prices and stuff like that, since you'll be spending a fair portion of your money there. Looking at the prices of everyday items and services can kind of help you get a good idea as to what your day-to-day expenses living in Boca would be. So here's kind of a list of things that we've come across, kind of groceries and stuff like that you'll see in Boca that folks buy pretty much every day. If you went out to buy like a 1 pound steak, it's going to be about $10. Milk runs about $2.55 a half gallon. Dozen eggs is about $1.50. A 5 pound bag of potatoes is about $4. A loaf of bread's $3.50. A 6-pack of beer, Heineken's one of my favorites, is about $10. The average cell phone bill is about $185. Now, that's partly because Florida has one of the most expensive tax rates on cell phones and on the internet. But so some of that is something that you really don't have a lot of control over, regardless of where you live in Florida. The average cost of gas runs about $3.41 a gallon. Utilities run about $190 to $195 a month. Of course, McDonald's, you go to quarter pounder, is going to be about $4. And a large pizza at a decent pizza place is going to run you about $13. The real estate market, cost of housing, Boca does have a very luxurious reputation, but there are still a lot of affordable real estate options. The median cost of a home in Boca is about $390,000. Now keep in mind, that's for about a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. with a 2-car garage, not a big lot, no pool. It's about $208 to $210 a square foot. Try to use something like that as kind of like your barometer. If you're living in areas that have a little bit higher tax rates because of things like education, we'll get into some of those in a little bit, and it's going to be a little bit higher. And if there's not a whole lot of amenities in the neighborhood you're looking at, it may be a little bit lower. So, but at the moment, the real estate market in Boca, like most of South Florida, is very competitive. Homes do not stay in the market for more than 2 to 3 weeks, and they sell for about 2 to 5% above the asking price. Although this does change when you start looking at homes that are over $1 million, and it certainly changes dramatically when you start looking at some of the big mansions that are 5, 10, 15, and even $20 million. They have a tendency to be looking for just the right type of buyer, and I mean, that may well be you. They typically stay in the market a little bit longer. And and while that's not all good news for buyers, and prices are kind of going up right now, the average home price in Boca is about 20% higher than it was last year. But it's not just Boca. That's basically everywhere here in South Florida and pretty much everywhere around the country by what's going on with the housing boom. Now, an overwhelming majority of residents in Boca own their homes. Home ownership rate actually is about 73%, which is like 10% higher than a national average. Boca being kind of a community that is, commuters have it a lot easier than the national average commuting around Boca, where the commute time is about 21 minutes. National average runs about 33 or 34 minutes. So, that's definitely a big factor as far as saving time and being able to do that, being able to get around. Housing costs in Boca can get fairly expensive depending upon where you're looking. Some homes will go for well over $1 million, some even $5, $10, or $15 million. But you can also find affordable condos in the $150,000 to the $200,000 range. For those of you that are not ready to make the commitment to buy, the average rents in Boca, just because a lot of folks own their homes in Boca doesn't mean there's not a lot of rentals. About 27 to 28% of Boca Raton residents rent their apartments or their homes. So the overall average rent in Boca runs about $2,000 to $2,050 a month. Actually, rent prices are actually increasing about 4.5% over last year. So the average rent for a 1-bedroom in Boca is about $1,675 a month, and a 2-bedroom runs about $2,000 or $63. Now, let's factor all that kind of stuff in with what your salary, what you're looking to make, and what you're bringing in. The average salary in Boca is about $65,000. If you're an hourly worker, you can expect an average rate of about $17,000. So median household income in Boca is about $78,419. This number is increasing annually. Boca has a very, very healthy economy, and by virtue of that, it allows its residents to afford the higher cost of residing there. Income, taxes, sales tax, and stuff like that. These are all very important considerations. A lot of times, folks forget about the taxes that they're paying. I've seen this happen time and time again on property. They look at a piece of property, they see it looks beautiful, they negotiate a great rate, and all of a sudden the taxes come in, and basically you get hit with it. So it's important to keep in mind when you're moving to an area, what is the tax rate? Is there a big difference between where you're coming from and where you're going to? It can make a big difference depending upon the state. So there are income taxes, property taxes, and sales taxes in Boca to consider, and everything is handled differently. So kind of here's the breakdown. Now, the good news first, income tax. There is no state income tax in Florida. You've probably heard this before. I know you've heard it from me in our other videos, but there's no state income tax at all in Florida. So basically, that's right. In Boca Raton, the income tax is zero. That's a huge benefit if you're coming in. For a lot of folks who have come down here from other states that charge taxes, ourselves included, we looked at that as almost kind of like a windfall. So, but, it's not all the same. The sales tax rate in Boca is about 7%. 6% is the Florida sales tax, and there's another 1% added on to Palm Beach County. That's basically, and it applies to most everything that you buy with the exception of certain groceries and certain medical supplies, but for the most part, plan on spending about 7% sales tax. Now, property taxes. You've probably heard this before, and if you haven't, then get ready for this. Boca Raton, being in Palm Beach County, has some of the highest taxes in South Florida, with a possible exception of Miami. Okay? But there are several factors that are going to determine how much you'll pay in taxes. The size of your property, the lot lines, and the value of your property are all taken into account. The good news is current property tax rate in Boca is about 1.118%, which is only slightly higher than a national average. But it's something to consider because in many parts of the country right now, the property tax rate is below the national average. So guys, basically, can you afford to live in Boca? And so I guess the question really comes down to, is Boca an affordable place to live? And it certainly can be. The Boca is known for its luxurious appeal. There are options for a wide range of budgets, considering the beauty of the area, the endless amenities, and some extra expenses here may be worth it to you. found this video to be interesting and or informative, we hope you'll consider subscribing. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop us a note in the comments below and we'll get back to you straight away. And thanks, until next time.